Well, why don't we get started? Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the 2012 Symposium, Evidence-Based Policing Leadership Workshop, Translating Research into Daily Police Practice. This is the 2012 CEBCP Symposium. It's our fourth year of the symposium. This is actually our second year for the policing workshops. So we're very, very pleased for you to join us. This is our largest symposium yet. We have about 250 people that will be attending across the 2 days. So we look forward to a successful conference. My name is Cynthia Lum. I'm the Deputy Director for the Center for Evidence-Based Crime Policy here at George Mason University. We're an academic unit inside of the Department of Criminology, Law, and Society at George Mason. And for those of you who might be visiting George Mason for the first time, I'd like to welcome you to our campus. We're very proud of what we've accomplished here as a university. We are now the largest public university in the state of Virginia. We have about 33,000 students attending here at any one particular time, so we're very proud of that. The criminology department is in the top 20. I'm sorry, I have to get in all my bragging like ahead of time. The criminology department is in the top 20 in the nation, and I guarantee you in the next 5 years we will be in the top 10. And so we're very proud of what we've accomplished here at George Mason, and we welcome you to the campus. One of the center's main interests, in addition to conducting primary research and evaluation research, is really in thinking about ways in which research is disseminated, translated, and used in law enforcement agencies and other criminal justice agencies. And I feel that this is what really distinguishes the center's work from a number of other research units. We prioritize in both our activities and our budgets work involving dissemination and translation, and the symposium is one of the big events that we do that focuses on this area. The efforts that you see today would not be possible without the staff of CEBCP. You'll see a lot of the graduate students walking around with green George Mason signs, so please feel free to ask them questions. But the symposium is also made possible by two very important entities. One is the College of Humanities and Social Sciences here at George Mason University. It's led by our dean, Jack Sensor, and his support is very much a part of our success. And the Bureau of Justice Assistance, who's really taken a leadership role in linking research and practice in the Office of Justice Programs. Today's event would not have been made possible had it not been for their support for the Matrix Demonstration Project, which is what the focus of today's discussions are going to be about. So for those of you who are from BJ in this room, we thank you very much for your efforts in this important area. So the agenda today is going to be as follows. I'll start with an introduction into the Matrix Demonstration Project. I'll give a very brief overview of the Matrix. I won't go into it. Last year was our first year, and we spent a lot of time on the Matrix. If you'd like to see a video of that, we have all of that taped from last year. So you can just go right to our video library, and there's a whole training on how to use the Matrix, et cetera. But I'll touch upon it briefly. And then I'm going to introduce and then I'm going to talk a little bit about academies and field training. So I'm going to introduce two of our demonstrations. We're still in the midst of doing these demonstrations, but I'm going to talk about them, and I have some materials to go through for you in the workbooks on academy and field training. And that's with our partners at Baltimore City and Alexandria Police Department. So we're very happy to be working with those two agencies regarding those demonstrations. Then I'm going to introduce Professor Christopher Coper. He is also the principal investigator on the Matrix Demonstration Project with me. And together we're leading this particular workshop. He's going to introduce two more demonstrations. One is something called Case of Places with our colleagues from Richmond Police Department and Minneapolis Police Department. And the second is the second demonstration that he's going to talk about is with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in terms of how to take a research project and turn it into an actual deployment, and a regular deployment at that. It's quite remarkable what they've done there. After that, Peter Nayrud and Sergeant Renee Mitchell are going to present on how agencies can conduct their own evaluations and experimental evaluations. and they're going to be reflecting on their extensive experience in doing this in police departments that they've worked for. Peter will reflect on these ventures from a command perspective, and Renee is going to focus on experimental evaluation from an on-the-ground implementation perspective. We're then going to break for lunch. There'll be lunch boxes outside. You're welcome to, there's rooms all throughout Innovation Hall, 134, 135, 136, that have air conditioning in them. You can eat there or eat in here. Or you can go upstairs. Outside of the doors here and also outside upstairs are seating areas, and you can have lunch out there as well. But the lunch boxes will be set up outside. But I'd like to reconvene here at 1 o'clock precisely. We're going to try to keep to our time schedule today. It's going to be a little bit difficult given that we're academics and we could turn 5 minutes into 5 hours. So we'll try to keep to the schedule so that we can all finish on time. After lunch, I'm going to talk a little bit about challenges to translating research into practice, and that's when we're going to call up our leadership roundtable. I'll introduce them then, but they're a distinguished group of policing leaders who are going to address some issues related to challenges of translation. And also, I'll be discussing a little bit about CompStat as well as police culture. So we'll talk about that after lunch. And finally, after that, there will be another group that joins us in this room. There are actually 2 workshops going on simultaneously. Another group is going to join us in this room, and we'll cap it off with keynote presentations on translation in other fields. So I'm hoping this will give you some fresh ideas about how public health and other public services are thinking about evidence translation and using research in their practice. Just some logistics before we get started. There are restrooms right outside the door, and there are also restrooms upstairs. So there are 2 sets of restrooms that you can use. Tomorrow, we're also beginning the events in this room. So we'll start here, and then we'll walk across one building over to Dewberry Hall for the awards ceremony. A couple more logistics. There will be filming of the first set of modules today before lunch, but when we get into the discussion and the leadership roundtable, there will not be filming. So feel free to ask questions, and I hope we have a candid discussion after lunch as well about challenges to evidence translation. And finally, everyone's been given a workbook. So there are a number of things in the workbook, not to mention the slides that we'll be talking about. And the slides have changed slightly, so we're going to put the final version of the entire workbook online. So the slides won't be changing that much, but there will be some slight changes and additions. There's also readings in here that you might find interesting. And some of us are going to refer to items in the workbook as we go through our presentations today. So if you have any questions about that, please just feel free to ask as we're talking. Okay?